Buying into a BMW 5 Series F18 with 300,000 kilometers, how much tuition fee in maintenance costs do you need to prepare? Right now, in front of me is this exact BMW 5 Series. It has already clocked 300,000 kilometers. The milestones at 200,000 and 300,000 kilometers are two major hurdles for this car. Once you sort out these two hurdles, you can safely and confidently drive it for another 4 to 5 years. In this video, we are going to restore this BMW 5 Series back to its factory baseline. This is a 2013 model, and since it's 2026 now, it is exactly 13 years old. After a decade of wear and tear, some parts are definitely not what they used to be. This car is powered by BMW's N52 engine, which is known to be one of BMW's most reliable and stable power plants. Fix the oil and coolant leaks and you barely run into any major issues. Even though this car has hit 300,000 kilometers, it still doesn't burn oil. So for an N52 engine with 300k kilometers, what parts do you need to prepare for repair and maintenance? Let's inspect it right now. Let's take a look at the valve cover. It's already starting to seep oil. At a mileage of 300,000 kilometers, this plastic composite cover is nearing the end of its lifespan, so it definitely needs to be replaced. Looking closely, we can see someone has worked on this cover before. See that? There are tool marks left on these bolts, proving someone messed with it before. Either they replaced the gasket or worked on the cover itself. Next, let's look at the upper radiator hose. The plastic connector is already turning yellow, which means it's reaching its absolute limit and needs to be replaced as well. Then we have this coolant hose that looks like a Mickey Mouse head, the one running from the cylinder head to the thermostat. Based on our experience, proactively replacing this hose is highly recommended. Since the car has already done 200,000 kilometers, replacing it will give you total peace of mind on the road. Let's check out the radiator. The radiator is leaking too. See here? Right next to the transmission oil cooler, there are already fluid stains on it. Let's take a comprehensive look underneath. Look at the underbody. Look at this. The engine oil pan has started leaking over time, and it definitely hasn't been just a day or two. It's completely covered in oil sludge. And notice this? Right next to it is the water pump, and its rubber mounting bushing has been completely degraded and melted by the oil soak. Look what I found! The oil drain plug was actually stripped, and someone just smeared a layer of silicone sealant over it. The owner just had it serviced, but even with the sealant, it's still leaking, and the surrounding area is wicking oil. At 300,000 kilometers, there's no question about it. The transmission front seal and the crankshaft rear main seal absolutely need to be replaced. Look, there's oil everywhere here, blowing backward. The oil itself looks pretty fresh, meaning the owner just changed the engine oil. We can see the transmission oil pan has been replaced before, and surprisingly, it's an aftermarket pan. Take a look. Even though it's leaking from front, the back area is bone dry. Except right here, specifically at the transmission drain plug, it's leaking transmission fluid. The build quality of this aftermarket pan is just terrible. You absolutely must use a genuine OE part for the transmission oil pan. Let's check out the suspension. Look at the 4 shock absorbers. None of them are leaking oil. They all look great, and driving it feels quite good too, so there's nothing wrong with the shocks. But the straight control arms and curved control arms, tension struts on this car are completely shot and cracked. This one here is the curved control arm. When this part goes bad, you'll feel it while driving. If you slam on the brakes, the car stops, but the body shifts or jerks forward a bit extra. If it gets severe, the front end will make a loud clunk sound. That's exactly this issue, as this arm is supposed to provide structural support. Look at the straight control arm. it's also badly degraded and starting to crack. When this fails, it causes abnormal noises and your car won't feel tight or planted anymore. It feels loose. So both the left and right curved and straight control arms need to be replaced. This is the rear axle and subframe area. The rear end on these cars rarely has issues. The rear shocks and control arms almost never fail, so everything back here is looking pretty good. The left and right rear shocks aren't leaking, and the arms look solid, so we can leave them alone. However, the flex disc, guibo, connecting the rear drive shaft to the differential is aged and cracked. What happens when this part fails? When you're coasting in neutral and suddenly step on the gas, you'll feel a delay in power delivery. That's exactly this issue. So if we want to restore that crisp, premium driving feel, we'll replace it. That's pretty much the breakdown of the inspection. Let's look at the parts we ordered. Here are our coolant hoses. This is a genuine upper radiator hose with the BMW logo, and this one goes from the cylinder head to the thermostat, also genuine BMW. We have the oil pan bolts, oil pan gasket, crankshaft front oil seal, and rear main seal. These are the left and right curved and straight control arms. We went with Lemforder, a pair for each side. Up here is our radiator. We're using Bear, which is highly reliable and a brand under Molly. This is our genuine valve cover with the BMW logo, manufactured in November 2024, brand new in its original packaging. Lastly, 2 bottles of differential fluid, 0.5 liters each, as the owner requested a differential fluid flush. That's all of it. Let's get to work. As for the total restoration costs for this project, I will list everything at the end of the video to serve as a helpful reference for anyone looking to buy a used BMW. First, we're tackling the valve cover. Let's remove it. Once we clear out the wiring harness on top, we absolutely must blow off the area with compressed air, especially around the edges. There's a lot of sand and dirt trapped here. If you don't blow it clean before lifting the valve cover, all that debris will fall right into the engine, which is terrible for it. On this N52 engine, take a look at the Valvetronic actuator motor. See that hole in the center? Before removing it, we must turn it to back it out and relieve the tension. If you don't release the tension before unbolting it, it could violently pop out. There's a worm gear inside this motor, and if it snaps back out directly, it will damage the gear. So we use this tool to turn it. After demonstrating this, we can proceed to remove the actuator motor bolts. For a Valvetronic motor that has run 300,000 kilometers, it actually looks surprisingly clean. See the structure inside? There's a worm gear right here that meshes with the engine's eccentric shaft. It is responsible for adjusting the valve lift, making it a highly critical component. And look at this. The engine's secondary air valve was actually glued straight on with silicone sealant. No wonder it's leaking. It mounts right here, and instead of using a proper gasket, they just slapped sealant on it. The guy who did this is a real genius. Guess what else we uncovered during the teardown? These valve cover bolts are completely mismatched, non-original replacements, and they stacked on these incredibly thick washers. This is ridiculous. It looks like a string of old copper coins. There's another identical one right over here. How did this happen? We highly suspect that when they previously installed the valve cover, they over-tightened it and snapped the original bolts clean off. That's why they had to resort to these jerry-rigged replacements. For an N52 engine with 300,000 kilometers on the clock, I've still got to call this a golden legend. The maintenance on this engine is absolutely phenomenal. Look at that gorgeous, pristine golden hue. There isn't a single speck of sludge or heavy grime on these valve springs. It has been incredibly well taken care of. This engine is nothing short of a work of art, a true pinnacle of human engineering. What are these metal sleeves inside the ignition coil wells used for? We'll talk more about that during reassembly. There are 6 of them in total, 1 for each cylinder. No wonder when we were stripping it down, this particular bolt wasn't installed. It turns out it was snapped clean off, and the other half is still stuck inside. We highly suspect those 2 mismatched bolts we found earlier were because the previous mechanic cranked them down way too hard and snapped them right off. Let's try to extract it. The clearance in here is incredibly tight with almost no room to maneuver, so we can only give it our best shot and see what happens. We've been trying to extract this bolt for half an hour now. We've thrown every tool in our arsenal at it, but it still won't budge. So we'll just have to leave it as is. This valve cover will have to go back on, missing 1 bolt. There's simply no other way. Those 2 aftermarket bolts the previous guy threw in had a completely different thread pitch, so both of these holes might have been totally ruined. Let's do a proper inspection. We'll try threading a genuine factory bolt in by itself, and it actually feels quite smooth. Talk about a massive stroke of luck. The threads on this bolt hole were heavily chewed up because the previous gorilla mechanic cranked it down way too hard. The damaged threads are why it's making this grinding noise, but thankfully it can still hold torque and tighten down for now. Now let's explain what these metal sleeves are actually for. Our ignition coils rely on magnetic fields to trigger the spark. Since we have 6 ignition coils packed closely together, these metal sleeves act as electromagnetic shields. This prevents cross-interference or crosstalk while they're firing. So running the engine without them is an absolute no-go. All right, our valve cover is officially installed. The fresh oil from that recent service looks pristine, and the engine's operating condition is seriously fantastic. This just goes to show that as long as you take good care of it and do your maintenance on time, hitting 300,000 kilometers is practically no problem at all. Over years of accumulation, the oil sludge buildup on this subframe crossmember was insane. Let's give it a good wash. All right, this is the best I can do for now. I'm not a professional detailer, so this'll just have to do. Look at that! I've scrubbed this oil pan until it looks brand new. That's as clean as it's going to get. Remember how the oil drain plug on this car was completely stripped? We re-tapped the threads and fitted it with a brand new plug, so it won't be leaking ever again. Now these are the oil pan bolts for this car. You absolutely must replace these bolts with new ones. Because these are aluminum alloy stretch bolts, if you don't replace them and try to reuse them, they will very likely stretch out or lose torque over time, leading to a secondary oil leak. This is the engine oil level sensor, which is mounted right on the bottom of the oil pan. its gasket needs to be replaced as well. All right, our oil pan is officially bolted back on. We've replaced all the bolts with brand new ones, and seeing them all lined up row by row looks absolutely beautiful. We've completely removed the full left and right sets of curved and straight control arms. Doing a side-by-side comparison between the old and the new, you can clearly see the difference. On this old one, the rubber bushing is no longer centered. See that? Whereas on our new one, it's perfectly dead center. With the bushing completely sagged and crooked like this, on top of being aged and cracked, how could the car possibly give you any premium ride quality? And look at our curved control arm. This one is also severely cracked. Since we've overhauled the control arms, resetting the bushing preload and torquing them at ride height is an absolute must. Let's check out the car's oil filter. I have no clue what brand this thing is. There isn't even a single marking or logo on it. Now, look at this rubber O-ring gasket in the middle. It has aged so badly it's turned pitch black, while the brand new one is this bright green. This clearly proves this O-ring hasn't been replaced for at least 2 service intervals. We're going to swap it out for a genuine factory BMW oil filter, complete with the genuine BMW logo and original part stamps. To replace the crankshaft rear main seal on this car, we need to drop the transmission. Pay close attention here. For the torque converter on this specific car, it absolutely must go back exactly how it came off. For example, whichever bolt hole I removed a bolt from, I need to use that exact same hole during reassembly. On this particular model, if you don't line it up and reinstall it the way it originally was, it's highly likely to cause abnormal noises or vibrations. That's why we must mark its position before removing it, just to prevent that from happening. Now the transmission has been dropped. Look what we just discovered. See that? This transmission fluid is actually red. Red fluid typically indicates 6-speed transmission fluid, but this car features an 8-speed transmission. This proves the wrong fluid was mixed in. Running 6-speed fluid in an 8-speed transmission will definitely cause severe damage. It's a ticking bomb. Normally, our 8-speed fluid should be a greenish teal color, but this fluid is bright red. Even if this red fluid claims to be rated for an 8-speed, it's bound to be from some shady, no-name generic brand, so it's definitely unusable. Plus, I have no idea what brand this transmission pan is. The markings on it make no sense. Therefore, this transmission fluid absolutely needs to be completely replaced. Here is our crankshaft rear main seal. It's completely surrounded by oil. On these N52 engines, a rear main seal leak often isn't actually the rubber seal itself failing. Instead, it's the liquid sealant applied at the engine block's bed plate split line that degrades over time. Once that old sealant breaks down, it can no longer seal the oil, causing it to seep out. We're going to reapply proper RTV gasket sealant to this engine block joint line so it won't leak ever again. Alright, that's fully installed now. Next, we're going to replace the transmission front pump seal, as well as these transmission bell housing bolts. Why do we need to replace these bolts? Let's take a look. These bolts come with integrated sealing washers. All right, our flywheel is officially installed and it has been torqued to the factory specified angle. Now we can reinstall the transmission. Since we dropped the transmission, these aluminum transmission bell housing bolts must also be replaced. Because this N52 engine block is made of a magnesium aluminum alloy, you absolutely must use aluminum bolts. Once these bolts are torqued down once, they permanently deform and stretch. If you try to reuse them a second time, they won't torque down properly or hold the correct clamping force. That's why whenever you service the transmission, they must be replaced. Now let's service the transmission fluid and flush it back out with the proper 8-speed transmission fluid. Look at the specification label on this aftermarket transmission pan. The sticker has completely peeled off. This looks way too sketchy and bootleg. Now we're filling it up with fresh transmission fluid. We're going with ZF's 8-speed transmission fluid. Why aren't we using genuine OEM BMW fluid? Because the genuine stuff is just way too expensive. The dealership charges a whopping $70 a liter for the factory fluid. Pay close attention here. Installing this transmission mount requires a specific technique as well. We need to align it exactly with the old wear marks. Because the rear of the transmission connects directly to the drive shaft, if you install it even slightly crooked, the transmission and drive shaft will bind against each other. This puts undue stress on the drivetrain, which can ultimately hurt your power delivery. So precision is key here. See that? Right behind it is the drive shaft. This mount secures the transmission, so it absolutely must be perfectly straight and aligned. Let's take a look at our newly replaced transmission oil pan. This is an OEM part manufactured by ZF, stamped with the ZF logo, and it also carries the genuine BMW logo. With an original factory pan like this, as long as you leave it alone, it will practically never leak unless it suffers a hard physical impact or gets crushed. Now that we're completely finished underneath, let's move up top to replace the radiator and the coolant hoses. Just as I expected, this Mickey Mouse coolant flange hose is severely degraded. A piece of it actually snapped off and is stuck inside. We've successfully pulled the radiator out. Take a look at this thing. It is incredibly filthy. It looks like the car smashed right into a chicken. It's completely covered in feathers and debris. On top of that, it's not just leaking from one spot, it's leaking from multiple areas. Look at the radiator shroud housing area here. It's completely full of feathers too. It's a total mess, so we'll give it a thorough cleaning in a moment. Now we're going to use clean water to flush out all the residual old coolant. Once the system is thoroughly flushed and cleaned, we'll fill it with fresh coolant so the new fluid doesn't get contaminated or mixed with the old crusty leftovers. Now we're going to replace the car's crankshaft front oil seal. Here is our brand new front seal. All right, the very last leak on this car has been completely taken care of. There is absolutely nowhere left for it to leak now. We've also got the new radiator installed, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Now we're adding coolant to the car. We're pouring in 4 bottles of genuine OEM BMW coolant. Next, we need to bleed the air out of the cooling system. Once the system is fully bled, we can take it out for a test drive. All right, after all that extensive work, we are finally out on the road test. Since we replaced so many components, we absolutely must give it a thorough test drive before handing the keys back to the owner. The car feels completely different after this overhaul. The overall ride quality and driving dynamics have been elevated to a whole new level. Before the repair, the steering wheel was actually off-center when driving because the suspension control arm bushings were completely deformed and sagged out of shape. The front-end alignment specs were definitely way off, which is why the car kept pulling to one side. Now that everything has been replaced with brand new parts, that problem is completely sorted out. After an extensive road test, everything feels absolutely spot on. This entire overhaul has been a massive success. Now, the key fob shell for this car is looking a bit too old and beaten up, so I'm going to swap it out for a brand new one. Look at this old one. Years of daily handling have left it with a thick patina of grime. If we put the old mechanical key blade inside this crisp new shell, it's going to look way too ugly. Let's cut a brand new blade for it instead. At this stage, the restoration and preparation for this BMW 5 Series F18 is nearly complete. Let's get to cutting this new mechanical key blade. Here are the total repair and restoration costs we put together locally. As you can see, BMW maintenance costs aren't quite as sky-high as you might imagine, but they aren't dirt cheap either. Honestly, if you're looking to buy into a used BMW, my advice is to expect a major overhaul right after taking delivery. Fix up all the oil and coolant leaks, and you can generally drive it with total peace of mind for the next 3 to 4 years, only needing routine maintenance from there on out. That wraps up this video. Hit that like button and subscribe so you don't take any wrong turns when fixing your BMW.